Hello, I'm Jan English, and I'm a juror on the exhibition called Color as Communication for the ColorShifts 2025 conference. I've been asked to give a little introduction, and you can see that I am a graduate of the Ontario College of Art and Design University, as it's called now. And I also have a PhD in astronomy and astrophysics. For more than 20 years, I've been a professor at the University of Manitoba in physics and astronomy. You can see that I do art as well. And on the right-hand side, you can see a collaboration that I have done with a composer, bits of it at least. And that is how I usually work, which is to say, I do collaborations with established artists. I have been on the Hubble Heritage Team for public outreach images in astronomy. That's a hat I wear in as a scientist, which is to produce images that pique the public's curiosity about my field of astronomy. I also produce images from my research projects with very many different researchers internationally. Here's an example that uses space-based telescopes to explore interacting galaxies. And here are images from radio telescopes, which the human eye won't see, and also in the infrared. And these are in our own Milky Way galaxy of dust and gas. None of these are paintings or drawings. These are all constructed out of data, as is this one where I've used Hubble Space Telescope data to produce the image of the disk of this galaxy and radio data to produce the tracings of the magnetic field lines emanating from this galaxy. Now, about this exhibit, there were certain criteria we were to evaluate, and the submissions included a plethora of novel and skilled works operating beyond an intuitive approach to color. Very intriguing were those that were experiments in either technique or in human perception. As an example of subtle use of color, we have here Swift, who exploits human perception to reconstruct color because color is relational. He uses only two colors, black and red, to produce other colors, and simultaneously he invites social critique. Madden constructed an instrument that produces spectra of light, which he points his camera at paintings and uses the reflected light. It bounces partly to the detector on the camera itself, creating an image of the painting, but part of that very same light goes through a diffraction grating and produces spectra, so the color components of that light. It juxtaposes them side by side because this provides a metaphor on how science simultaneously abstracts from the subject it's studying and reveals deeper knowledge. And he feels that this is similar to art, which abstracts and reveals. The videos were really interesting in terms of experimentation. For example, Ciani applied mathematics to correlate definitions of musical harmony and color harmony. Samson had color change over time on the same structure, so it transformed our perception of the structure. Then Lacroix decomposed images into their color and recomposed them into new images. And White applies color to spatial dimensions, so he's sculpting volumes, as well as communicating moods and so on. One of the most interesting things to me, because I am doing public outreach, was this public outreach image of an exploded star. The debris is called a supernova remnant. The telescopes observe different chemical elements in black and white. Their images are black and white. Each of the black and white data sets are assigned color and combined together. Now, Cassiopeia A, this particular remnant, is a very popular object to make images of, But the color composition in this one is one of the best I've ever come across, and they have skillfully distinguished between the elements. This is a very complex process, and it was submitted by Woke to represent their whole team of visualization experts. Another really interesting thing was how people used bodies for their work. Reed used their own body and low technology scanners to attempt to confront the boundary between humans and the devices that humans use. The colors are those of social media and other online spaces so that it shows this interaction between humans and devices. This one is dealing with body language. It's by Krupi, and the jewelry, if you want to call it that, the prosthetic is put onto an orange color because orange is associated with social interactions. This gesture has an open belly, which is being open to social interactions. And then one didn't have to put do something very complex, let's say. Instead, they could do a very simple reframing of painting or color. And this was a quest by Harman to have created multi-directional abstraction, and the use of impasto meant that the color interactions could not be planned ahead of time. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Anne Lindberg. I'm delighted to have had the opportunity to spend time with the works of each artist who submitted to the ColorShifts exhibition. Thank you for that. I am a multidisciplinary artist who works within expanded definitions of drawing, sculpture, and textiles in 2 and 3 dimensions. As I briefly talk about a few essential concepts in my work, I will move through several images of recent projects. The basis of my recent work is drawing, most often large scale, graphite and colored pencil drawn across large expanses of mat board, and architecturally scaled site-responsive sculptures made with volumes of fine chromatic thread that is pulled taut through space. When thousands of threads like these are held in tension in the air under electric and daylight, this suspended cloud of thread reflects color onto surrounding surfaces and people, like with this gentleman's face, for instance. My work is abstract, yet embedded within its formal and material languages are concerns with time, sequence, and ethereal atmosphere, and a drive to speak about what is private, vulnerable, fragile, and perceptive of the human condition. Regardless of media and scale, there's a strong sense of the handmade. Material and process are offered openly. The work asks you to come closer and to slow down. The indexical mark, the gesture made, the material itself all become psychological and emotional spaces in the process of making. Large and small drawings in both 2 and 3 dimensions render what seem to be wanderings of the mind, vistas on the verge of disappearing, or forms emerging from the unknown. This project at the Textile Museum in Washington, D.C. focused on a color and perceptual condition sometimes known as impossible color or forbidden color. In colored light, our eyes do not see the exact midpoint transition between complementary colors such as yellow and blue-purple. Instead, we see a flash of white. It is this unattainable color circumstance that our eyes cannot perceive. By painting the walls with a shade of blue lavender in the gallery and using primarily yellow-white threads and a few green ones, as you can see, I work directly with this mysterious color reality in our physiology. All my work, whether works on paper or sculpture, is an investigation of the power of color to carry meaning. Colors and adjacencies of color simultaneously hold emotional undercurrents and optical phenomena, and seem to suggest light and landscape conditions. Perhaps most importantly at this time in our society, color has the power to summon forth visceral responses to the profound and disquieting present in which we all live. Now I will briefly speak about two works I selected from the ColorShifts exhibition. In a work called A Typical Day in Damascus, Fatma Algaz presents us with a gathering of people playing cards around a table. There is an onlooker outside the window. The cards are all face down on the table, and the identifying features of each person have been masked by deep teal shapes. These teal shapes are the only solid colors in the image. Most of the other colors are part of graphic patterns on fabrics, clothing, wall coverings, the playing cards themselves, and the vegetation outside. The composition appears to be composed through the process of collage. Shapes and patterns are pieced together in a slightly jostled manner. Where is this card game being played? Who is that onlooker? What is the group of people talking about? Are they family members or a group of friends? As a student artist, Fatma says all their work celebrates Arabic and Islamic cultures. With this painting, we can soundly say that color in every part of the world is a potent expression of belonging. Color carries meaning, history, tradition, and symbolism for all of us. This painting is a great example of the power of color to connect. Congratulations, Fatma. Katrina Garcia's photograph called Color as Motion points out the mutability of color to express physical experience. Color is always perceived and understood in relationship to surrounding and adjacent colors, light conditions, perception, and of course, motion. Color is constantly changing depending upon one's viewpoint and movement of our eyes and bodies. Katrina's work celebrates this fact so well. This photograph seems to suggest a gathering of people outside. Is there a bicycle or motorcycle in the foreground there? Perhaps these individuals are dancing and singing. Or are we, the viewers, the ones dancing and singing? I feel the energy of the place. I hear the sounds. I sense the warm light dappled through leaves on trees. I can see fabric moving. I feel as if I am spinning. All because of the way that color is rendered in dynamic motion. Congratulations, Katrina.
Hello, my name is Kat Garcia, and I'm an interdisciplinary artist for 20 years. My practice spans photography, digital art, traditional mixed media illustration, film, and creative direction. My practice is rooted in storytelling and the pursuit of visual innovation with a commitment to challenging the boundaries between media and perception. This pushes creative boundaries by rethinking how fundamental elements such as color function in both aesthetic and conceptual terms. This piece operates on the central premise that color, despite its nature here as a static element, could create the illusion of motion. Through blurred forms and intentional shifts in color properties such as, hue, saturation, and value, the image captures the feeling of motion not through detail but through chromatic movement. This work reflects an ongoing inquiry into what I refer to as color as motion or as motion and stillness, a concept that explores how perception can be influenced or even disrupted by color alone. And this framework, color is not a passive decorative device, it becomes an agent of narrative. It suggests time, rhythm, and energy. It simulates motion by engaging our perceptual expectation, allowing the viewer to feel the image move without any literal motion occurring. Color in this piece carries kinetic weight. It asks, can a still image move? Can color displace time? Can the blur of pigment become the pulse of human activity? I've explored how the formal properties of visual language like color can unlock deeper experiences. And this work challenges the viewers to see color not only as a visual signal, but as a conceptual and temporal one. In doing so, it reflects on the larger role color plays in our collective and individual experience of reality.